want to show you something really incredible, something that is the key to understanding voter turnout in past and future elections. It shows the differences in turnout between black and white men in 2012, okay? So, you see, according to census data, around 61.4% of black men turned out to vote. That's fairly high. But, and this is the important part, when you account for the hundreds of thousands of black men who are not in prison but have been stripped of their right to vote as punishment for the crimes, the percentage of eligible black men who voted shoots up to 68%, a 6% jump, a rate that, interestingly, is much, much higher than white men. Felon disenfranchisement, which so disproportionately affects black men, is not something we are used to delivering good news about, but this week we have a big victory out of the state of Virginia. This letter, sent by Republican Governor Bob McDonnell yesterday, puts in place immediately an automatic restoration process of voting rights for many of Virginia's 350,000 felons. And this is in a state where 1 in 5 black men cannot vote because of felon disenfranchisement. Now, the amazing thing about this story is who made it happen. Conservative Governor Bob McDonnell has actually been supportive of restoring civil rights to felons for a while. But here's who was not: Virginia's Attorney General and gubernatorial candidate Ken Cuccinelli, one of the most aggressively conservative figures in the country. He makes Ted Cruz look like a moderate, and he voted against restoring felons' rights 5 times. And yet this week, while delivering his office's recommendations on felon voting rights, he had somewhat of a road to Damascus moment.
I believe we need a simpler way for individuals who want to return their place in society to be given a second chance.
This turnaround is a victory for the targeted, sustained activism around the issue in the state from not only people who are working on voting rights, but evangelicals and criminal justice advocates who have raised awareness and made this a politically viable issue, supported by 71% of voters in Virginia, and now the Republican candidate for governor. In a state that, although it has recently gone blue, is still part of the old Confederacy, is still producing a lot of extremely conservative politicians, like the new Republican candidate for lieutenant governor, E.W. Jackson. But just one state away in North Carolina, the most right-wing state government in all of America continues to absolutely plow its way through its citizens, sometimes almost literally. Protesters have showed up week after week after week on the steps of the State House as part of a Moral Monday campaign, only to be hauled off by police. Each week, the arrest total has gone up from 17 people the first day to 30, then 49, and most recently 57. Over 153 people in North Carolina have now been arrested for peacefully protesting, and they have no plans to stop. The Moral Mondays movement is gathering steam and plans to continue in peaceful opposition to the legislature's all-out assault on not only voting rights of North Carolinians, but also their economic well-being. Joining me at the table, Reverend Dr. William Barber, president of the North Carolina NAACP. He has led protests and been arrested in response to the actions of the North Carolina legislature. Also with us, Ben Jealous, president and CEO of the National NAACP. It's wonderful to have both you gentlemen here.
Thank you, Chris.
So I think the most interesting wrinkle coming out of Virginia was this coalition, this kind of moral coalition that happened between civil rights activists and evangelical Christians who were part of the base of the Republican Party. And there's a kind of moral case made for redemption, for second chances for felons. You are calling the protests you're doing in North Carolina Moral Mondays. Why did you choose that name? What does that mean?
Well, if I step back for just a second, Chris, we've been successful in North Carolina, and we're being attacked because of the success that we had for years. We built this massive coalition. What we see now is an attack that is extreme and immoral by the ultra-conservative Tea Party-backed coalition. It's extreme to cut 500,000 people out of Medicaid. It's extreme to cut 165,000 people's unemployment. It's extreme to raise taxes on 900,000 poor working people so that you can give a tax cut to 23 families. It's extreme to knock 30,000 poor preschool kids off the road. It's extreme to bring money back into how you choose your judicial candidates rather than having public financing. But not only is it extreme, it's immoral. And so what we're saying is we must expand the debate. There are some moral and constitutional principles. The moral principle of doing by the least of these, and the constitutional principle of the good of the whole, the common good, that must be at the center of our debate. That's bigger than Democrat, bigger than Republican, and we must challenge those that want to limit the moral discussion to abortion, prayer in the school, and gender issues. No, this budget is immoral. These extreme acts are immoral, and they're bad policy, and they're anti-economic future.
Do we talk enough about the immoral language on this side of politics?
We don't. You know, we've made a critical mistake ever since Dr. King died, to not talk in the language of our faith enough. And it is our faiths that really ground many of us. You know, you kind of get into the closet, if you will, of your classic liberal, and you find out that they're actually moved by their belief in Judaism or Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, whatever it is.
Or just my own belief in the basic dignity and sort of the basic dignity of each individual human being on this earth and their right to an equal future, which is a faith in and of itself.
That's right. But also in this country, the two most powerful vocabularies we have are the vocabulary of faith and of patriotism, and we need to own both of those.
And I want to talk about how the coalition got put together to win in Virginia, that got put together to win in North Carolina, and how it's working to try to keep those victories in North Carolina under assault right after this break.